Hello, Twitch. You're joining us live from the AWS Summit at New York City in the beautiful Javits Center. The timelines have converged. We're sharing this portion of the multiverse to bring you two friends from the containers team, Akshay, Wesley. Of course, not to forget you down there, Robert. Robert from the developer evangelism team here at AWS. Please introduce yourselves, starting with you, Akshay.
Hey guys, my name's Akshay Ram. I'm a product manager with AWS Container Services.
And I'm Wesley Pettit. I'm an engineer with Container Services.
And I'm Robert Zhu. I'm a technical evangelist.
I go with no introduction needed, Robert. Everybody knows.
No introduction needed. There you go.
Right.
Erase everything I just said.
But thank you for giving one.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about some important work that you all have done with the larger ecosystem around containers, with specifically Fluent Bit, right?
Yep.
And you created some plugins.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we were actually speaking with customers, we realized that customers were really looking for ways to optimize their logs. And what does that mean? That actually means there were customers who were saying, we're running data science applications, and no one's really looking at the logs at any point in time, so they much rather stream those logs to cost-efficient storage.
Okay.
They can analyze later on an as-needed basis. So when we went to the drawing board, we said, there's so many tools out there in the AWS and partner ecosystem. How do we actually simplify for customers to actually reach these tools and do it in a native way across our container services products? And that's why we actually chose Fluent Bit. Fluent Bit is an open source log processing solution, and it helps customers have those levers to say, these are the logs from a data science team, send them straight to S3. I can use Athena, query them later on a need-down basis. Here, and we have the Fluent Bit plugin has integrations with both CloudWatch and Kinesis Firehose, so you can reach CloudWatch and the Kinesis Firehose destination, which is S3, Amazon Elasticsearch Service, and Amazon Redshift. So
Cool.
it just gives you that ecosystem.
That's a lot of avenues, right?
Yep.
So let's unpack this a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
So we're talking about a centralized way to gather logs, right? Which, when you're running microservices, architecture that is very common in the new container orchestration areas that we see, getting those logs from these disparate microservices and combining them into one area to do analytics, to do detection, to do monitoring, it's critical, right?
Absolutely.
And you all chose to work with Fluent, right? There's Fluent D and Fluent Bit that we can talk about. You chose to work with that because that's really a community standard at this point.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely. So Fluent D.
So let me just jump in here for a second. I always like to play the role of the curmudgeon.
Okay.
Just a couple of years late on the adoption curve. What's wrong with Docker logs -F?
Yeah. So I think Docker logs is definitely a way customers can stream logs.
Okay.
But Fluent Bit and Fluent D also has the log processing capabilities that gives you the routing and gives you the extension point, because if you see Docker log drivers, they are currently a preset number of them. But there's a larger ecosystem with Fluent D which we want to leverage, which we get out of the box, and that's why we chose to go down the Fluent D route.
Yes. So I think the routing thing is a very interesting feature of these newer logging infrastructure components, I suppose we'll call them, right? Because a couple years ago, we saw the Docker got really popular, and then we saw all these kinds of solutions at the orchestration space. I think that's what made the Docker log inspection workflow really complicated. So can you talk a little bit about how these solutions can address some of the complexity that's been introduced from orchestration frameworks?
Yeah, so I think, if I understand you correctly, from when we spoke with customers, they were asking for a way to get an extensibility point outside the Docker ecosystem, which is Fluent D. And then they wanted the routing capabilities primarily for cost optimization, because they wanted to say, I want to send some logs for storage versus I want to send some logs for indexing. And indexing is usually a slightly more expensive operation versus storing them. So this routing and the stream processing capability is more powerful for customers. And as I said, the ecosystem is there for extensibility as well.
Yeah. And also, so Fluent D and Fluent Bit allow you to do all sorts of things that you can't do with normal Docker logging drivers. So as we're going to show you in a moment with our demo, like you can parse your logs, you can do all sorts of things, like you can, if they're JSON, you can add keys to them, remove keys.
Ooh.
You can say, oh, if there's a key here, do this. like you can do all sorts of much more complicated stuff. And you can forward your logs between Fluent Bit and Fluent D nodes. So you can like have Fluent D collecting all your logs, send it to a Fluent Bit, or vice versa, and aggregate as well.
Can't wait for the demo.
I heard a
Yes.
magic word there. Demo, right?
That's
Yes.
good.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So great. We mentioned too. I just want to call out S3 is one of the destinations you can choose, right, for the plugin, and also Kinesis Firehose.
Yes.
Specifically, right?
So specifically, the plugins that we are launching, the CloudWatch plugin for
Sorry,
Fluent Bit,
CloudWatch, yes.
and Firehose plugin for Fluent Bit. And so
That's where S3 comes in.
yes,
Yes.
because Firehose can output to Amazon Elasticsearch and S3 and to a couple
Amazon
others.
Redshift.
Yeah.
Okay.
A couple others.
Good. I think that's good clarification. Just to make sure everybody knows where we can actually push these logs to, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of data processing and storage options on
Yep.
AWS.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So cool. What do you think? Are you ready for
Yeah.
demo?
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. So okay. So this demo is based upon a blog post that a guy named Michael and I wrote, and so it's on the AWS open source blog. You can check it out, and you can follow along, or you can go afterwards and do everything that I'm doing yourself. So I just want to mention that. Now, okay. So one of the things is why Fluent Bit and not Fluent D. So Fluent D is very much a standard. I think most Kubernetes folks will be familiar with Fluent D. And Fluent D is great. It's been around for a while. The problem is it's written largely in Ruby. It's a little bit resource inefficient. It's a little bit slow. Fluent Bit is written entirely in C, and our plugins are written in Go, compiled with CGO. So this means it's a little bit more performant. So we've done some benchmarks of the plugins, which you can also find in the blog post. And we found that Fluent Bit uses about 1/4 of the CPU and about 1/6 of the memory that Fluent D would for a comparable workload. So that gives you some nice cost savings.
That's
Right
quite a
there.
bit. I mean, that's quite a difference right there. That's
Yeah.
almost an order of magnitude difference in some cases, some of those stats, right?
Yeah.
Well, why can't I just go and write this thing in assembly and then make it run in like 5 kilobytes?
Well, I guess you could, but I don't want to write an assembly.
Why, but
I mean, I can't.
sometimes
but,
you shouldn't ask, could you? You should
Yes.
ask, should you? Right? Yeah.
I'm
I
on to
think
you.
that's the question to ask here. Should you do that?
Alrighty.
No. I'll answer. No.
So all right, so I'm not gonna like run through the full demo because it would take way too long. I'm just gonna kind of show the key points, and then you can go through the blog post later and do it yourself. So we have to build an image with Fluent Bit. So AWS is distributing a Fluent Bit image based upon the latest version of Fluent Bit, and we take it and then we're gonna basically customize it. So how are we gonna customize it? We're gonna customize it by adding our own configuration. So just quickly here, we're outputting to Kinesis Firehose. And then the other key thing is that our input will come from a Unix socket. So this will come from the Docker log driver for Fluent D. So I guess we were kind of talking about log drivers before and saying don't use log drivers, use Fluent D. But actually there is a Fluent D log driver which can send to Fluent D and Fluent Bit. So use that one.
Nice.
So this is going to send over Unix socket. You can also send over TCP, but what we're going to do is we're going to run a daemon service. So that's going to be an ECS service that runs one instance on every node of your cluster. And so every single Fluent Bit instance is going to listen at this Unix socket for the logs. And now just quickly, as I mentioned, Fluent Bit can do a lot of things. We're only going to show like one very, very simple thing here. It can do a lot more. But it's going to parse our Nginx logs. So we're going to get a nice JSON with all of the different fields like the IP, the host, the user from our request log. All right, so now just quickly, I'm going to show the ECS task definition. So in your log configuration, you have to use the Fluent D log driver, and then you have to put the path of the Unix socket. And so one of these will be located on every single host. So every single host in your cluster has access, and logs can get sent from your application there.
And that socket file shows up because you specified the previous option where you specify the log driver to Fluent D, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you don't specify that, you're not going to get that file. If you specify another driver, you have a different log file. Is that
Exactly.
correct? Okay.
Exactly. So here we go. Here's my cluster. I've got 2 services. So this is my Nginx service. And then this is my daemon service. So it's running 1 on every single node. I have 2 nodes in my cluster, and so it's running 1 on each. Only got 1 Nginx server. But any host that it gets placed on, it can use the logs. All right. So now I also have an EKS cluster also set up with a daemon set. You call it a daemon set in the Kubernetes world. So just to show you quickly there, I'm going to get the logs with kube control from my Fluent Bit daemon set running on EKS. So as you can see here, it shows that we're running a Firehose plugin. Now, our configuration for Kubernetes is nearly the same as ECS. There's just one slight difference. So in Kubernetes, you don't use Docker log drivers. All the logs just go to a file. They use the JSON log driver, and it sends to a file.
You typically load Fluent D as a sidecar, right? In the same pod in some architectures.
I would say typically for Kubernetes folks, it's a daemon set, like we're showing here.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Because it's just most efficient, right? Like
Yeah.
all of your logs are getting written right here, var log containers to these
Okay.
log files. So you just put one pod on each
That makes more
host.
sense
Yeah,
than a sidecar.
and you grab the logs. So okay, so this is the same exact configuration. The only difference is our input comes from tailing the log file. So once again, if you want to follow along with the Kubernetes, go to the blog post and we'll show you everything. We have all the code there to set up your Kubernetes cluster.
Cool.
All right. So then what I want to show is we can query this with Athena. So this data is in S3. Do you want me to take a second and show the actual raw JSON data? Or do you just want to show
Sure,
it?
yeah. Let's,
Okay.
We should
I have to-
see the shape of the data.
I have to go to the S3 console because I forgot to pull that up.
That's okay. No
So,
worries.
Yeah, just give me 1 second and I will show you what the actual data looks like. So while I'm pulling this up, I'm going to mention one of the more cool features of Fluent Bit, which I have not played with that much myself. Oh man, okay, here we go. So Fluent Bit actually has this cool new thing called stream processing, where you can run SQL queries on the logs. So like logs are being processed on the actual host, okay? And you can run SQL queries like you can have like you can be running a count of the log events or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds like Firehose Analytics.
Yes,
Yes.
it is like Kinesis Analytics, but it's actually happening before
sorry,
it gets
Kinesis
sent.
Kinesis
Analytics.
Analytics.
Thank you. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and again, it doubles down on the whole, you can drop logs, you can send aggregate statistics and only ship those out, and
Right,
the
there we
others you
go.
can drop, so it gives you that cost optimization lever.
Okay, so I just wanted to show here. So our container is logging an Nginx log event, which just has like a timestamp. It's an actual log line, but Fluent Bit parsed it to JSON here, and because we had that parser, so we have all our fields. And since we pulled out all of our fields, we can use Athena. So Athena is a service that will let us query the data in S3. And the key thing about Athena is that we can query the data as it gets entered into S3. Like we don't have to wait or something. It's going to be basically,
Yeah, there's no database tables here.
yes.
Yeah.
It's magic.
Right.
Basically magic, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how it works. To me, it's magic.
Serverless.
Serverless
Yeah.
analytics. Let's get as many buzzwords around it as we can.
But so I can run this here, and I can create this table from the JSON fields. And then I also have my ECS data, so I'm creating one table for ECS and one table for my EKS cluster. Now, then what I'm going to do, very quickly, and once again, these SQL queries are all in the blog post if you want to go and do them later. So don't have to sit there and screenshot the screen or something. But so I'm going to create a consolidated view with both the EKS cluster logs and the ECS cluster logs, both of them.
Okay,
together.
that is really cool. Let's just can I just appreciate? I want to set this up because if this
Yeah.
works,
Yeah.
and I believe that it'll work, but this is incredible, right? Because we're essentially joining logs between an ECS cluster
Yeah.
and an EKS cluster.
Yes.
Yes.
That's awesome. I want to see
Yeah.
this. Okay, let's do this.
Yes. Okay, because they're both running Fluent Bit daemon sets, and
Yes.
they're both Nginx. we can put them together. The data's all being sent from Firehose to S3. So, all right, this is the final one. Boom. So we want to find out who are our top 10 like IP addresses that are calling our service for both the clusters. So we can run this query, and boom.
Boom.
Oh.
So whoever you are, we found you. Top caller. There we go.
Nice.
Yeah. And so that's about it for the daemon service example. Very quickly, because we have a few minutes left,
Yeah,
I'm going
of
to go into
course.
one more use case for 1 minute.
Extra demo. I
Yeah,
don't
right.
think
Extra
anybody's going to
demo.
complain about extra demo.
Okay, so you've seen kind of like basic usage of Fluent Bit. This is what I would call advanced usage of Fluent Bit. This is the
Okay.
thing which I think is, this is what I'm most psyched about. Like what I think is the killer use case of Fluentd and Fluent Bit. What you can do is there's these things called these Fluent Logger SDKs. So I'm using the one for Python here, but there's ones for literally every language, okay? You can like literally, like OCaml. They have support for OCaml.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, Camel.
Yes. They have support.
Hey, hey.
COBOL.
I don't, maybe, who knows?
Okay.
I have a
haven't checked
friend
that
who
one.
loves OCaml, so if he's watching this, it doesn't mean that OCaml is a lame language, although kind of is.
Erlang.
I think they do, yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure I've checked that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Alright.
Anyway, basically any language. So what we do is you can set up your Fluent daemon service with a slightly different configuration. They have documentation on it. What you can do is in your code, send log metrics, send log events. And what you can do is you can tag them. So here I have a log that's actually metrics. And here I have a log that's an error. And here I have a log that's just debug information. All of them are tagged. All of them will be sent to Fluent Bit. Then in my configuration, you can match log events based upon their tag. So what I can do is I have an error stream, a metric stream, a debug stream, any stream that I want. I want to send from my app like all these different logs to different locations based upon what they are. Because maybe like my debug information, I just have tons of debug logs. Just throw those all in S3.
Yeah.
But then other logs, I want to alarm on them, send them to CloudWatch.
This is like super Log4j.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
cloud enabled, right?
Yes.
Like, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
So if you go back to the code there,
Yeah.
why wouldn't I just standard out this stuff? What if I just took this content in this JSON, well, not the JSON here, you don't have JSON, but if I just started to output to standard out?
So if you just output to standard out, then you have to later like parse these messages out. Fluent Bit currently doesn't exactly have a way. So it has a way that you can parse out different log things and drop them. So you could say like, here's my log stream. I only care about the metrics, throw away everything else. But if you were just logging to standard out, you couldn't actually say, here's one type of log, here's another type of log, send each of these to a different destination.
I see.
This
I
is
see. That implies there's some post-processing necessary to kind of get all your logs sorted out and going where they need to go, right? So with this, just if you can embed this in your code, you don't have that immediate step that you need to transform the data through.
Yeah. It's just your application defines its log types
Yeah.
and basically defines its log definitions. Because what you can do is you can have this tag here be the name of the destination, and then like you can have your infrastructure team set up your destinations, and then your application team can decide which logs go to which destination.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, the beauty of building it with Fluent Bit too is this already plugs into the ecosystem as well. Like data aggregators like Datadog and
Yep.
Yes.
things that already operate with Fluent Bit.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So that's one of the key things, and kind of one of the things that we want to end on.
Yeah.
So we want to build more Fluent Bit plugins. We want the community to build more Fluent Bit plugins. We're thinking of adding a Kinesis data streams plugin, maybe some others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're
also, you can
wanna
already
talk
use.
about Fargate.
Yeah.
About our support for Fargate.
Yeah, sure.
So we're planning on building a native support for Fargate in Fluentd as well. Right now it's on ECS on EC2, EKS on EC2. But we're planning on building a support for Fargate, and with opinionated defaults, because as Wesley showed, there's a lot of power with this.
Yeah.
But you need to have some opinionated defaults. So we're also thinking of guiding customers with some defaults which we recommend, and making it a more managed experience on Fargate as well.
And I know about this, but I think the containers team, you do something really cool with your roadmap, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
let's say
Yes.
I want to suggest a Fluent Bit plugin that I want to see built.
Yeah.
Where do I go do that?
So we have the containers roadmap on GitHub.
So
You
cool.
can make feature requests, anything you want us to add to Fluent Bit or Fargate or etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's easy as that. Just make a request and
Yes.
it's on
Yes,
there.
absolutely.
Wow.
We're listening.
Cool.
Yes.
I love it.
Well, thanks for joining us. Stick on the channel. We've got more content coming all day. We'll be back soon.
See you soon.